Max played against them in the second map being Dust2, where, you know, as North, you're kind of time constrained, and then after that first map, you've had to forfeit. You might not be going into that game with 100% focus, perhaps.
Right. So you're feeling maybe a little confident for 3D Max?
Maybe
more so than most people might be, having watched that 16-6?
Yeah, 2 from 2 on Dust2, but at the same time, I mean, you made the point earlier in off stream or whatever that G2 is pretty good on their Dust2. I'd have to agree with you there, and it is their map pick, so I don't know, I'm feeling pretty lack of optimism than I was before the series started for 3D Max.
Yeah, like, I mean, we looked at the start of the series, you sort of said you have a pretty reasonable chance for 3D Max going through. Yeah. I was kind of arguing the other side of the coin where I thought G2, with that experience, have a better chance.
Yep.
At the moment, it's looking like, whatever the case is, G2 today are looking like the better team, at least based on Inferno. Now, Dust2, I feel like, is a map where if we get those big individual performances out from G2, like what we saw earlier on there on Inferno, it probably can go pretty quickly. You know, Kenny S with the AWP, if we see those AUGs, if we see the SGs coming out there for the T side, even for G2, doesn't really matter. I think if they've got that aim on point, Dust2 is definitely a map that they're able to run away with, and it is a map that they're very comfortable on. Same can be said for 3D Max though, so I think we're kind of in for maybe a little bit of a closer map here than what we were on Inferno, at the very least. Yeah,
I feel like if it's a bit closer of a map, then 3D Max have a lot better of a chance. That sounds like a pretty stupid statement to be making, but across a larger sample size of rounds, I feel like G2 is a really streaky team. They can have Body who can just drop like 150 ADR and a half or whatever and just go absolutely mental. Kenny S, you know, they've got all the talented players to be able to absolutely rip 3D Max apart in a shorter sampler size. But if your halves are starting to run out a little bit more, you're forcing G2 to start to play more of the other side of the map. Like, we barely even saw them play their T side on Inferno in that map. They thumped them so hard on the CT side that they barely had to really do anything. There was one gun round that was fortunate for G2 where they're all stacked up in the apartments, and then the AWPer from 3D Max was getting aggressive there because he didn't see any Ts, and he got punished for it, and that's all G2 needed to win the map. That's not a strat. They didn't need to pull any of their strats out. They didn't really need to go to through any of their defaults or executes or whatever that they might have on the map. They just did so well on one half. They were able to close it out quite comfortably after getting the pistol on the other halves, or on the other side rather, once they switched over. So I'm interested to see in a closer game, you know, across a larger sample size of rounds where one G2 player isn't just absolutely going nuclear and, you know, banging them out of the server, whether 3D Max can make a better accounting for themselves.
All right, well, time to find out as we do head into Dust2. 3D Max starting off on CT side, and G2 Esports, well, kind of looks like they've read this one perfectly. They're going to get a free run straight into the A-bomb side, all the way up short. 3D Max would have heard that, but how much help that is going to be for them? Well, David P very quickly, and a very nice shot as well. As Shox goes down, bomb carrier, as he does slow down G2 just a little bit. But does look like the bomb is going to go down fairly safely indeed. Kenny S hasn't cleared out Pit, so really could be problematic here for G2 based on the positions of 3D Max. They've played it well so far. Kenny S still alive and kicking. Devil gives away his position, but does manage to hit the headshot onto Kenny S. Does drop into 1v2 now for Lucky. Just needs a couple of quick headshots with that P250, but not landing. And the 3D Max player is getting on at top of him. This is where it comes to push, coming to shove. And unfortunately for Lucky, I think it might just be a little bit too late. He doesn't have the ability to survive. Bomb is going to be defused just in time. And 3D Max, they play that one nicely. It looked problematic for them at the start, but straight away, reading it very well, getting the kills that they needed.
Yeah, it's just a pre-planned pissed around, really. You sort of stack your chips up. You try to really lean heavily towards certain areas of the map, and you can be super aware that when you're setting up that pissed around, when you're setting up a certain strategy, that, oh, well, what if G2 just runs up short? Well, then we do this and this. You know, you have your fallback plans, and it's worked out perfectly for 3D Max in that situation in question.
Yeah, quite a numerous number of things kind of went wrong for G2 there. Obviously, the bomb player getting picked off early as well. Pit not being cleared, a couple of little things that eventually really snowballed into something bigger for 3D Max. But for G2, it's just one round, not the end of the world.
Yeah, and it's good to see 3D Max get off to a strong start, especially on Dust2 CT side. You really need to get the money rolling. You need that utility. You need enough money to be able to get your AWPs on board. And if they get themselves rolling a little bit faster here, then I think they have a much better chance of taking this map out off of G2, because they're under a lot of pressure in that last map, and it felt like they didn't really have the opportunity that they needed to get back into that game.
You're not wrong. 3D Max starting off well in this one. I mean, we looked at the start of the last map, it was at 2 apiece at one point, and it kind of felt like 3D Max were doing okay for themselves. But then G2 kind of just started steamrolling. So I wonder if that is going to happen here as well. I mean, it started off well enough for 3D Max, but we know that CS is really a game that can flip on its head very, very quickly indeed. Lucky with the AK here. Does take a fair bit of damage from that HE nade. Shox gets dropped in mid as well. Devil just not peeking his head up yet, but eventually able to dispatch of 1 or 2. B-bomb side though taken control of by G2.
These G2 players are so low. I like the approach. I'm surprised Shox actually got himself picked in mid there when he had a smoke for the mid to B cross.
Just throw the nade. Would have killed Kenny. This one won't. So still a chance for G2 if Kenny just pops heads. Fortunately only a Galil for him, but Mark are going to be the one that will peak first. 52 HP is chance. We'll get rid of Jax, who was the one that probably had to win this round. Kenny was going to be all but a distraction.
Unfortunate. And there it is, 3D Max. They're going to pick it up. 3 alive as well. Start to get that money rolling. Bomb plant down for G2 is going to mean they're only going to have to take the singular save. So, all things in all, still quite a close game between both teams. 2 Augs saved over, 1 AK for 3D Max. Good stuff. Should see a nice drawn-out game, I would be imagining.
Well, that's what we hope for at least, right?
4 Augs. All right. Cool. This is the world we live in.
It is. Well, you saw the effectiveness that G2 was able to get from them in Inferno. So why not try and take advantage of it as 3D Max? Aggressive grenade there from David as he actually pushes up mid a little bit. Hasn't been spotted by Shox. And this is interesting. This way his position, backing away. He'll be okay for now. G2 with the armor and pistol still in with a sniff in this round.
Yeah, you're always in for a good shot. I like the approach here. The 2 smokes being thrown out in towards middle and the lurk smoke out B should give them a pretty decent chance to be able to win this round with the CZ armor.
David taking a fair chunk of damage. If Shox is able to get the timing here onto Devil, then things get a little bit interesting. Still sitting in that smoke in mid, while G2 makes their way onto the bomb site, but Haji and Devil doing good enough of a job to keep G2 at bay. And the bomb dropped in a really inopportune spot here for Shox. He might be able to get the bomb down. Probably will be able to get the bomb down. What am I talking about? It's a present, it's not the bomb.
I mean,
with the AUG.
In previous days, well, 1v3 for Shox would be a present that you'd receive quite often.
Well, maybe we can see a little bit more of that magic coming back if he does manage to get the timing right here onto David. Locks down a strong position to hold that bomb from flashing back into the site, but isn't aware that there's a player in upper dark, so that'll be the end of the round quite easily in the favor of 3D Max.
Look, in a 1v3 when no one's peeked you for that long, you've got to start cutting some corners fast, and unfortunately, the patience from 3D Max pays off. 3 still alive once again, 2 rounds back-to-back for 3D Max. Bomb plant plus loss bonus equals another buy for G2. So, all things in all, a fairly back-and-forth game despite the scoreboard being all up for 3D Max thus far. G2 with still more opportunities to put rounds on the board.
Yeah, but where we saw G2 really have a big impact in the last map was when they got the full utility, full weaponry as well, and I don't know what to say about that one.
Vintage Kenny.
He's got the Bloodhound ult on, but that is maybe not going to matter too much as Marco's going to find a 3K. So you take one and then you lose one. 2v2 now for Shox and Kenny S.
The dream team. So, Shox could potentially be picked by David here from top mid, and that would make all the difference, but he's just going to go, oh my lord, Maka, that's his 4th frag of the round. He's on for the ace, potentially, but Kenny, you cannot underestimate him in the 1v2. 2 opportunities is all he needs.
Yeah, definitely a winnable round for him. A flash would be lovely for 3D Max here, but they're not going to get it. A nice headshot, but it's not enough. Kenny S, great stuff. The first round for G2.
What else can he do? 4 kills, 1 ridiculous one through a smoke, and he digs Kenny, and you don't get that round?
Yeah.
You'd be kicking yourself. He pretty much ran, it's the equivalent of soccer, you know, he ran the ball all the way down the field from the opposite end, and then he left the ball right next to the goalpost, and just no one tapped it in.
I don't know what else to say. That was a round. That was a round. We'll just go with that. Look at that. I mean, jeez. That's just some sort of sixth sense stuff. Spidey sense maybe for Kenny S. Straight out into long though in round number 5 for G2. A good flashbang. Not enough for Lucky to land a shot onto Jinx though.
Yeah, but they've lost, you know, one of the CTs and long control with 3 players on the A-bomb site. Shox looking to open up the round in the mid-round as he did previously in the last round towards middle, which made that clutch so winnable from a round that looked like it was going so well for 3D Max thanks to Maka. Aforementioned is still alive, so potential here for nothing, as Shox just absolutely finds the timing on him beautifully.
Perfect timing. It'll happen, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Well, 3v5.
Man, Shox have been so good at just cutting the map in half. He just chills near the mid doors, and then some point in the middle of the round or the late round, Shox is just going to drop that mid to B smoke, and G2 is just going to pile over towards B, and, you know, if you're not careful, that'll be the end of the round.
I won't be complaining if we see a little bit more of that. That was definitely something special. All right, Kenny, what more have you got for us here? Let's just get a flick into that smoke, I reckon. Interesting stalemate between Body and David.
I have a stalemate with my body sometimes too.
Oh, this could be bad. This could be real bad.
Is he gonna? He doesn't have a kit, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And he's been hurt.
Has he?
Yep.
I thought he was. Anyway, regardless.
Jack's heard the drop, and that's why he stopped and ducked behind the box there.
Yeah,
Easy G2 round there, and you got to say, once again, I mean, that key pick in mid is what set up both of those rounds for G2. Shox just chilling in the mid doors, dropping the mid to B smoke. In the 2-on-2, or it might have been a 2-on-3 at that point in which he did it in the round previous to the one we just saw. Yep. And in that round as well, perfect timing to come out and just pick Maka and cut the map in half once again.
Well, exactly. If you're able to control mid, you just pretty much control the entire map.
Yeah, CTs can't rotate as quickly. They have to go and take territory to be able to do so.
I mean, it's such a long rotate if you're not able to rotate through mid. Regardless, though, it's 3D Max taking 2 guns through, so a little bit to play with in this round, but for G2, on that comeback train straight away.
And look, I mean, as we were saying, at 3D Max off to a good start. 4 Augs, you know, 3 alive in back-to-back gun rounds. All great statements until the point where your CT economy gets cooked, and at that point you're back in the bin, basically. It's a slow run for G2. They don't want to take any extra chances. Their money hasn't had the opportunity to really build up because these rounds have been getting reasonably close. The last one not as close, but I mean, Kenny S pulling off that 1-on-2 definitely put G2's firmly back in the door.
See if they can kick the door open now, as they do have control. They have the momentum. David gets dropped, whiffing a few shots. Unfortunate for him. That was the chance for 3D Max. Now it feels like it's going to fall by the wayside. Shox takes a little while to get rid of Maka, but in the end, doesn't matter too much. A-site fully in control of G2. And Jinx may be more than happy to just save the Org through to the next round at this point.
You'd be wanting to do so. I mean, look at the money on Devil and David P. You need that cash flow. You need to be able to get those smokes and incendiaries to be able to fight for that long control, to be able to hold down that B push potential in the earlier parts of the round. Because once you can navigate yourselves away from some of those dangers, that's where you can sort of make some more of those mid-round plays. Unfortunately, in the mid-round is where G2 have been so strong thus far.
A lot of time for G2 to hunt down this rifle as well. I wonder if they're quite going to get it. Lucky will have to hit a nice shot. Doesn't look like he'll push on any further, so Jinx will manage to go through. But there's a second window here that Lucky might be able to get it. Not quite. All right. All's well that ends well for Jinx. Maybe not for the rest of 3D Max in that round.
I mean, for 3D Max here, if they're going to buy, and moving forward into a lot of these next couple of gun rounds, I'm really going to need to start to see, it looks like they're going to half invest, and they really probably want to save for orbs here and start to invest in that double orb, potentially to give G2 a bit of a different look. But I'm going to really need to see them stop Shox exploiting this mid for sure. And the other thing as well is that every time where they lose long control, they never really push upper dark. They don't really make a push on cat or mid. They need to start getting aggressive in the mid round because it feels like a lot of the time G2, they're forcing their control over long, and the only time where it didn't work is when Maka got a ridiculous like 3k in a matter of seconds. That's not going to happen too often. So if G2's being able to exploit the fact that they're able to abuse this long control as well as exploiting you in the mid round, you know, you haven't got a leg to stand on. You really need to be playing a bit more reactively on Dust2 like we see a lot more in the pro scene, mixing in those upper dark pushes in when you see that you're losing long control time and time again, maybe going for cat control and trying to go for an aggressive pick towards middle.
Well, so far it's G2 that's really dictating things, more so than 3D Max.
And it was the same in the last map as well.
Yeah. It's still not at the point where G2 really fully have control. It's still kind of hanging in the balance. Inferno was well and truly gone by the wayside, but this one for 3D Max, if they can win a couple of quick rounds here, G2 will be on the back foot. Toward the B bomb site we go. Nice shot from Jax to get rid of Maka, but in the meanwhile, seeing a few kills go the way of 3D Max. Hard G, maybe creeping through the smoke here to find Kenny S. The flashbang is good. Kenny will go down. No trade very quickly as the ult goes into his hands, but Jax in a nice position here. A couple of quick headshots out from him, and 3D Max will fall by the wayside. Great stuff from Jax.
Should have been a 3D Max round. Jax bailed them out so hard there. He's running into B up against the CZ and just rips that player on top of the double stack's head off and closes out the 3-on-3 with a couple of quick AK headshots. 3D Max did wonderful, really exploiting G2, getting aggressively as individuals through the mid doors there and things of that like. And, I mean, without Jax cleaning up those players, it wouldn't have been around for G2.
Shocks with the orb. Just going to throw that one back over to Kenny. Obviously, the spawn for it.
I want to see what the difference here from 3D Max, because you could see already the two players were very close to tunnel there where G2 were going for that long control, so they might have been looking for the aggression towards upper dark, but now 3D Max, they've taken control of long, and they haven't given it to G2, so they have no reason to push upper dark this time around. Now we're going to be seeing a bit different of a round, and we'll see if 3D Max can make a better accounting of themselves this time around. Because it's going to boil down differently. G2, they don't have the long control. They've taken cat instead. That's about all they have.
Not a bad grenade there onto Shocks. A bit of damage done to G2 here, which will slow them down a bit. So far, so good for G2, though. Just waiting for the right moment to take that peek. The flashbang has come through. Haji has been spotted. He's not really going to have too much backup here. Needs to do it all himself. And unfortunately, won't be able to do it. The smoke keeping the trade an impossibility. So long is taken control of by G2. Short still in the hands of 3D Max. It's a push and pull. It's even at the moment, 50-50. 4v4. Round could still go either way.
This is very hard for 3D Max to hold, though. They've lost long and cat. Sure, they've just taken upper dark, so they can be sure that this hit's coming in, but when the clock runs down and you've lost all control, it's incredibly hard to hold.
Yeah, you could see Maka had really no idea where he was getting pushed from there, had to try and swing around and won't be able to. Utility too strong from G2. A bomb site easily in their control. And another round that looks like it should be a pretty comfortable one for G2. You know, we see these close-ish rounds, and then straight away G2 answers back with a round that is really, really clean for themselves. I think that's what's putting 3D Max on the back foot, where when they get close, it's just not quite close enough.
That was just great fundamentals from G2. Really good decision making. I mean, when Mousesports were really good before, you know, with the Sunny and Rop's iteration of the lineup, and when Oscar was going off a lot, it's something that they used to do so well on Dust2. Is just the fact that they used to attack long while having cat control and just sandwich that A site and really run the clock down so well, and it makes it so hard on the CTs because you can't look in the perfect spot. When the clock's running down and the Ts are closing in all around you, you've used all your util, you really just don't have a leg to stand on. It's only a matter of time before you get sandwiched between multiple players pushing you from both sides. It's incredibly hard to hold. You can never really know what to do in that situation, unfortunately, and that's a beautifully played round for G2. Even after they lose that long control and they don't get the, you know, plan A, they go to plan B or C, and it works out beautifully for them. So it's going to be very hard for 3D Max going forward.
Quick play from Body. He almost gets ruined by the Molotov, but survives on 2 HP, gets the opening frag for G2 and starts to open up long a little bit. This will give the opportunity over to Lucky. Flashbang at least will keep another CT alive, but 3 left. Not really much to write home about for 3D Max right now. They need to win some of these aim duels. Lucky and Body still very low HP. I would argue a winnable round for 3D Max, but they've just lost 2 players. So 1v4, probably not. 4v3, you could have made an argument for it. Now Body will be dispatched off by David, but gets a bit of damage onto him and does get the info, more importantly, as well for G2. That'll be that. Kenny with a nice shot. Quick round out for G2.
3D Max has still got money to play with, but it really just feels like G2 is completely outplaying them right now. Like, that when they get the long control, it works so beautifully for them. They're able to win the round with it and don't really have to do anything too complicated to be able to win at that point. But
look at this.
What are we looking at?
What are we looking at? That's the real question. Lucky 9 and 5.
Yeah.
Pretty reasonable so far. 96 ADR from Jax.
I think he's their highest rated player on G2 actually. I was having a look.
I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
It's the tack pause out from 3D Max, and this is an incredibly hard tack pause to actually take because you're talking about multiple different scenarios that you're losing in. You're losing in the mid to late round where Shox is abusing mid. That's a problem. You're losing long control more often than you're having it. That's a big problem. And even when you take the long control, G2 just takes catwalk off you and slow plays into long and splits your A-bomb side, and you can't defend that either. So everything G2's doing is working, and the rounds where 3D Max, although to their credit, they are starting to try to play a little bit more reactively and get a bit more aggressive on the map when they do lose control, it's still not working for them. It really feels like G2's got them in the palm of their hand.
Yeah, maybe not this round though, as Jinx almost able to line a few up. He had an M4 there, might have been a couple more kills, but the FAMAS not quite enough.
Look at the change up from G2. They've shown a lot of patience, a lot of strategy, a lot of slow play and map control, and general good fundamentals, and then the good old pop flash 3 people through that B tunnel smoke. And
well, that grenade will bring it back to a 2v2, so that is nice. Where on earth is Shox? That is the question. Well, there he is. Poor Maka, I had no idea. RG might get one here, but even if he did, it probably wouldn't have mattered. Shox with a couple of nice shots to finish off the round, and all of a sudden we're up to 7 and 3. It felt, not that long ago when we were saying 3D Max have a pretty decent chance here on Dust2. A few rounds go their way, and all of a sudden G2 just turn it on its head. Is this a tactical pause or a technical pause? Another tac pause for 3D Max. So 2 rounds in a row they've called a tactical pause. Lots to think about.
Too much to think about.
Probably.
It really feels like at this point, their money gets broken every second round because, it's classic CT side things. At this point, they're looking at conceding an 8-3 lead to G2, and after that, they're really going to have to look at themselves in the mirror and start to say, play better, as you would say, Jordan. But more than that, I really feel like G2's got them in the palm of their hand. Like I said, everything that they're doing is working. They're really changing things up quite regularly, and it's quite hard to read for 3D Max. The decision-making and fundamentals all over the spot are very, very good. So 3D Max, I feel like they're going to have to set the pace in this game. Yeah. Going to have to see some special plays out of them to grind a few more rounds off the board. And a pistol round would be a good start. Oh,
it's a double AWP set up here for the T side as well, I might add. Kenny S is just absolutely demolishing 3D Max. Yes, pistols. But let's get excited for a little bit. Yeah. It's 2 AM. I'm allowed to have some fun.
Prime time. That's your prime time.
That's my prime time.
You keep telling me.
I'm an absolute gamer. Staying up until 6 AM. Let's go.
All your new toys, your fork, knife, and whatever your kids play these days.
Apex Legends, man. Get on it. Well, this one will be falling by the wayside pretty quickly for 3D Max, one would expect. An AK for Jinx at the very least to take through.
Yeah, look, it's better than nothing, but next round he's got so much loss bonus, I don't think he really cares about anything but maybe the one-shot potential. It's going to be about it. So, looking like an 8th for G2. 3D Max. Let's see something different. Let's see some tunnel aggression. Let's see some reckless aggression up catwalk or a double AWP setup. Show me something, because you guys cannot beat G2 in a straight-up game right now. Their decision-making is far too good. It's not even the individuals going off and absolutely, wrecking you with the firepower. This game in particular, it's the team approach that's winning them the rounds. It's playing off of each other. It's making the right fundamental decisions at the key points in the rounds. And you know, 3D Max, if you can't beat them by out-thonking them, then you better be getting in there and getting some swift headshots.
It doesn't seem like either of those are working right now. Yeah, very good stuff from Kenny S, and it's exactly the kind of map where you want him to be popping off. Here on Dust2, Shox with the secondary AWP.
Another secondary AWP on 3D Max's side, so maybe a little bit different of an approach this time.
Maybe not for Kenny S. Same position.
They're going to fight for the long control, and it's good utility usage out from 3D Max. Maybe a little bit too much.
Not hitting that flick.
It's going to be an interesting thing for G2 to see, for Kenny to communicate that. You might think that that's the third person rotating over towards the B side of the map. Jumping across middle like that at that point in the round.
That late in the round, yeah, surely. And also interesting for G2 now to sort of discern what they actually want to do in this round now that they haven't gotten any of those early picks with the double AWP. You know, it's going to make life a little more difficult trying to get some entries. Shox still looking into mid doors. A push from David. And this is what you wanted to see. It's only going to result in a 1-for-1, but the information there for Devil, missing a crucial shot with the AWP. The chance here for Body, but he won't hit it, and the flashbang comes in a second too late. Shox won't be able to get the trade. It all comes down to Kenny S here, making something magic happen, hiding in that smoke. Marcus got no idea. And Kenny S might be the hero once again. He'll hear that scope, gets the B250 out. Oh my goodness, he's going to do it. The knife. Oh dear. Well, could go worse for 3D Max. At least Haji's able to get the trade pretty quickly. 30 seconds in the round, G2 Esports. Where do we go from here? B bomb site, definitely defended. Can they get to A? Rotations coming in. Shox won't hit the shot. An important one for him as well to miss there, as it really puts quite a bit of an onus now onto Lucky. He'll get the important kill onto Haji, and that will allow the bomb plant to go down. So, he's actually going to fake the plant. What a madman. An absolute genius, though.
There is no way that... I just feel like that is not correct to fake in that scenario. Like, he could be anywhere. You're so sure that he's CT there. Like, dear Lord, the ball's on this man. Works out for him though, so it's correct. If it works, it's correct.
What a round though.
And I mean, I'm already down 9-3 and 1 map. I feel like I'm getting puddled as 3D Max, and then
you've just been knifed in the back.
Yeah, you're getting knifed. Kenny's running through smokes.
One opening frag in the round at least, so a chance here. Let's see what Haji can do. Putting himself forward with the flashbang, and it's unfortunately not going to work out for 3D Max. So more of the same for G2. As Shox locks down middle. Devil close, and he is going to be flushed out by this molly.
Okay, so less money than they had in the previous gun round. We saw a little bit more aggression, a little bit more disruptiveness, but, you know, despite that 1-for-1 and the info gather by pushing B tunnels in that point in the round from 3D Max, I mean, they still weren't able to make it work because they're just not hitting their shots at the moment. Feels like Maka is the main person that's feeling pretty confident and ready to play at this point, but I mean, that's not going to be enough to get 3D Max back into this game.
Oh, quick play in toward B. It's going to work for G2 as well. The auto sniper not getting any tags, but it does not matter. Devil's going to have to come up absolutely massive here, and unfortunately, he is not. So, bomb site taken for G2. And it's starting to feel more and more like Inferno. Kenny S through the flash. I'm not even surprised at this point, Philly.
Can't just peace out. Like, Kenny's just hitting everything, man.
Yeah, it looks like we might be going home early.
Potentially. And again, it's like, it felt like 3D Max was trying a lot harder to get into this game, but the decision-making from G2 was incredible. The way they're changing up these rounds is so hard for 3D Max to win.
Shox.
Getting his toes.
You put the slippers on, your toes are a little bit cold.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter anyway.
There's those steel caps.
Yeah, steel cap boots. Just reflecting the bullets back.
The most critical piece of body armor.
Oh, yeah. Toes are important.
Yep.
Just think about it. If your feet get shot, what are you going to do? You can't walk.
Just walk on my toes. It's fine.
Someone shoots your...
Kenny's got the 1-3-3-7 scoreline. Pretty decent.
Yeah,
I rate it.
You rate it?
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. Look at this. What is this? Double auto sniper, triple orb. Surely you get a tag here. Come on, guys.
No.
Nope. Oh, well, that's disappointing. Last round of the half, though, so it doesn't matter too much. And finally the tag comes. It's from the SG, or from the org, sorry.
Who'd have thunk it? Alright, so pretty much a nothing start to the round. Boost in lowers to see if anyone's aggressing Cat. Nothing can be seen on Cat, and we can see a lot of utility onto long control. And for those people not well versed with the Counter-Strike, you know, lingo, if you see a lot of grenades towards long and you don't see anyone on the catwalk, you can probably go take the catwalk. So GT is going to go take the catwalk.
Well, there you go. You learn something new every day. David. Stoic through the flashbang, not expecting the peak. Still taking control of upper dark. So this is something good from 3D Max. Late in the half, very late in the half, but at least around where it looks like they have the info, looks like they have the knowledge. And it all comes down to the timing here of David.
I mean, that's what the meta is on Dust2 at the moment. It's really just playing with the utility and trying to play reactively and push the right parts of the map at the right time. You lose long, you take middle, or you push upper dark, etc., etc. So take Cat, you go for a bit of a push on long, something.
Timing doesn't work in his favour, so 3D Max once again with a player deficit. At the very least, they will know or expect that the A bomb site is where the hit is going to come. A lot of utility here for G2 as the flashbangs do come in. Haji ducking below the boxes on the site. Should be mollied off there. Body gets absolutely bodied. And a chance here now for 3D Max as they hit quite a few nice shots. Haji gets his head ripped off, but not before he's done some damage. Bomb plan's going to go down for short, which is good. Lucky, covering off the bomb site. Crucial kill. It's 3D Max now put themselves back into a 2v2 post-plant scenario. Lucky in another 1v2. Can he win another one? In a good position. Bombs planted for him. A great shot onto Jinx. Marker with the flashbangs out from Lucky. He knows exactly where he is. Doesn't hit the shot. Time ticking away though. Marker's going to have to push on forward. P250 out and gets the headshot. And that might just be
I thought the wide
coffin.
swing was coming out for sure. He doesn't even wide swing in with the 5-7. He just smacks him.
Yeah.
Gives him the clothesline. Unbelievable that this man's able to clutch that one out.
If you think like, what could go worse for 3D Max?
The worst part is like
is
they've had a decent run on this map in this qualifier thus far. And it really feels like they are trying to do a better job in this game than they are in Inferno. But you know what?
It's not happening.
Counter-Strike doesn't care about your feelings.
No, neither does G2 apparently.
Doesn't matter how you're feeling heading into this game.
Lucky with a couple of unreal clutches, 1v2s. I mean, it's just all the rounds that you even think that 3D Max has an advantage in, it doesn't work that way. You know, you think, well, who was it? Marker got the 4K earlier on in the start of the half, and it still went the way of G2.
It really just feels like G2's a lot better than 3D Max on this map. Like, that's what it feels like to me. It feels like 3D Max are like, you know, 1 to 2 to 3 steps behind G2 at all points in time. Like 3D Max are like, yeah, we really feel like we're losing map control here. So David P's really trying to go for the uppers push in that scenario. Whereas G2, they're like, it's like that meme with the brain exploding or whatever. They're on like the 3rd or the 4th one, and 3D Max are still working through the 2nd.
Yeah, Jinx trying to push on forward, but Jax is the one that's doing the damage right now. Eventually he will fall, but might have done enough as the rotation coming across. Look at this, an army of G2 players making their way toward B, and 3D Max still cowering away in upper dark, trying to make their way into the side itself. Lucky will push through the smoke, backed up by a couple of teammates. That might not have been the play. G2, a little over-eager, turn it back into a 2v2 as 3D Max with an advantageous aim duel will be allowed to get the bomb down. And, you know, it turns on its head a little bit. G2 have to think about this one. But shots coming from the tunnels. They don't know that he's there, and this is the chance for the round for G2. Does get a headshot across, but it's going to be absolute devastation. 4v2 goes the way of 3D Max. Well, is that the way back in?
It definitely is. I mean, the last time they were at a pretty disadvantageous scoreline, they dropped the pistol round to G2, and we all saw how that went on Inferno. This time around, it makes such a big difference because if you aren't able to win that first pistol round on the CT side of Dust2, that really prolongs the number of gun rounds it's going to take, or the number of ecos it's going to take to be able to get full utility, to be able to get Kenny S and AWP in his very capable hands. And, you know, that's going to push that back for a couple of rounds, which is going to allow 3D Max to potentially get their confidence going, get themselves back into the game, potentially build up some money if they're not just going to go willy-nilly peeking into pistols here and there. Yeah,
well, I mean, speaking of confidence, G2 might have had a little bit too much of that. Well, they do manage to get a frag out, so it's not all bad news for G2, but it's pretty bad news.
That's beautiful from Hachi. He's showing us all elements of CSGO. The AD MAC-10 spray aiming below the guy's feet, followed up by the Swift 1B with the Glock on mid-doors.
I feel like
he's got it all worked out.
A bit of the sodium bicarbonate right now.
I can't even move the mouse and the keyboard at the same time. It's just not possible.
Well, I don't know if you'd want to be moving your keyboard, to be honest, when you're playing Counter-Strike.
Are you sure?
Well, you tell me.
That's how I turned the character.
We've gotten to that point already. It's 2:30 in the morning and we're cooked. Oh, well.
You don't have turn buttons enabled, or?
No.
All right.
Luckily, it's a pistol. We're not really missing too much. P250's out for G2. We're making the push into upper dark, so a bit of information there for them. Bit of a push on long as well. Not going to work out. Ah, goodness me, Philly.
Good thing for 3D Max is they're really holding on to a lot of guns, trying to build up their money a little bit more. You saw, I think, only one, maybe two of them died in the last round up against that full eco. This time around, G2, they're going to take that second save because it's the pistol factor there, Jordan. They didn't pick up that first pistol. They're going to have to wait longer to be able to buy that utility, to be able to buy the AWPs. So they're just going to precursor all of that. They don't want to go for the questionable buy of M4s and some pretty lackluster utility. You want to go for those juicy AUGs. You want to go for that double AWP setup. You want to get all the Molotovs that you can possibly buy to be able to cook some of these 3D Max blokes.
Okay.
Five alive.
Yeah, but it's going to be the gun round coming up, so this is what we've been waiting for.
There it is. 4 AUGs and an AWP. All the utility.
Scopes out the wazoo.
This is where, as 3D Max, I feel like you just don't play a straight-up round. You just don't go into Kenny S's AWP and all the utility in the world. They're going to go for the long control. I can respect that. Jinx is going to throw the smoke to the corner. Flashes over the top from all the lads. It's instantly given up. G2 don't even want long. They're not interested. So they must have something particular in mind. Oh my lord,
oh, they've got Kenny
these lads.
They've got Kenny S in mind. He doesn't miss. He hasn't been missing all night.
David was on an adventure.
Yeah. Captain Cook. He was looking for Australia, but unfortunately he didn't find it. And I don't know if they're going to find it right now, but Pilly. It's getting to that point.
Some sandy, arid territory, but I don't think we have that many domes on the top of our structures as they have on this map.
No, generally speaking not.
And I don't think I've ever seen a soccer ball, but I haven't been outside, so...
All right. What do we do here as 3D Max? It's 3v5.
You wait for an overextension, and then you try to take the part of the map that you think has been pushed through, which is pretty much everywhere. It's a pretty rough one. I feel like the approach from 3D Max is pretty good. You go for the classic walk into B, try to headshot 2 counter-terrorist players, and if you could do that, then you could try and win the round in the 3v3 post plant.
Sounds easy enough. Easier said than done, I'm sure. Shox holding the angle on his own, but rotation starting to come across here for G2, and right about in time. There's still a chance now for 3D Max as they get one on the rotate as well, which turns it into a 3v3. Problem is, 15 seconds on the clock right now, and Body watching the cross. There's no smokes for the cross either for 3D Max, so this is an incredibly tough round. They need to hit the headshot, and Billy, I think it might be just a little too late now for them, as the bomb not going to be planted. Body gets one as well. It doesn't matter. G2, if there was a smoke there for 3D Max, they might have been undone. But the lack of utility was the real problem for 3D Max there.
That was a crazy amount of confidence in his friends there from Devil. He's still lurking in the 5-on-3 situation in middle, and he does get the kill in the rotation player, but like, come on man, like, you're heading into the B bomb site with no smokes on any of your friends, and you're hoping that they're just going to 1B everyone. I suppose wishful thinking, you got to cut some corners. Wow, the utility usage from G2 in this round in particular, it's quite impressive to be able to take long control. They've clearly worked on a lot of this stuff. Haji's just going to, I mean, I was going to say do the big brain play, but he just walks straight into the org of Jack, spraying down through the smoke. He's going to have none of it. And 3D Max at a disadvantage, starting to run out of money and players again.
Yeah, it's just, I feel like a broken record right now, but G2 looking too good today. 3D Max can't get the consistency right. They get a couple of nice rounds or a couple of nice frags, or they make something look good, but it's just not enough as G2, all class, able to dispatch of them really easily at this point.
It feels like G2's set the tempo this entire series, and 3D Max, they always feel just a little bit too slow to adjust. That is already like such a nice flick from Kenny, rather. Just the fact that he goes for the head there. Beautiful.
Why not? Put him in the ground a little bit more.
Yeah, but it's like the whole time it feels like 3D Max is just a little bit one step behind G2. Always feels like G2 is setting the precedent, setting the tempo, and by the time that 3D Max feels like they want to take a tactic pause to adjust, time and time again, G2 throws the spanner in the works. That's where they throw their wildcard strat.
Kenny starting off well once again. The orb having the impact, and now the orb trying to have a look in. Can't see too well over the Molotov smoke as Lucky and Body do go down. It's not going to be too much of a problem. Kenny is here. He's lining them up, and I would not have been surprised to see him hit that final shot as well, to be fair.
I just love the way where he's scoping there. He's like scoping at people's toes, and then he's like, I'm going to flick upwards.
It's like he's purposefully not pre-aiming.
He's purposely not aiming where he should be.
You know when you're in a DM server and you run around the corner backwards to try and get that flick shot? I feel like that's what he's trying to do.
I don't know what kind of DM you're doing, Jordan, but I personally can't turn my keyboard fast enough to be able to hit those kind of shots.
Let's not go back to that. All right, last round potentially coming up here for G2. It certainly feels like it could be. 3D Max do have some guns as a very last resort, but not very much utility here. And Kenny S, what a night he is having, starting off once again in the round with the pick, and well, there's another one for Shocks. So 3v5, 3D Max. I think this might be the last we're going to be seeing of them.
They've just lost 2 picks in like very quick succession every single T-gun round since G2 have got the money. This is disrespect. They're just fighting. They're like, get out of the pit. What are you doing?
Literally standing in the middle of nowhere, taking the
standing in the open. They're like, get out of the server.
Yeah, I think that's the point where we are at, as G2 are going to be forcing 3D Max out of the server. And there it is, Kenny S. Fittingly, the last frag goes his way. It turns out 2 is better than 3. Pilias G2 are the ones that are going to be picking up the victory tonight and going on to face Big in the next match. That's going to be a tough one for them, but certainly the match against G2, against 3D Max, I should say, didn't really look like a particularly tough one there for G2, I didn't think.
Yeah, absolutely thumped them. I would have to agree with you. And G2, I mean, we only really saw them play a meaty part of 2 halves, I would say. And for a team like Big waiting in the upper bracket that are going to be wanting to look over some of the things they've seen from G2 thus far today, there's not a lot to look at. I mean, there's a 2 good halves to get a sample size from, but you got to say, even one of those halves on Inferno, it's like his body going to absolutely ruin the other team as hard as he did previously. It really just feels like G2, they're really hitting their stride today. The individuals are firing on all cylinders, and if we're going to see that continue into the next series against Big, then it should be quite a close and hotly contested series.
Yeah, and, actually, I mean, I'm actually kind of keen for it now. Like, obviously I was keen for it beforehand, but after having seen G2 playing like that, the shots that they're hitting, Kenny S is looking pretty good tonight. I mean, I think this could be a pretty interesting game. You know, it's a best of 5, right? So extra map potential there as well, as we can go to 4 maps. Big, of course, with the map advantage. I mean, yeah, G2 looking actually the goods tonight.
Look, all I got to say is, like, someone's got to sneak into the G2 headquarters and they got to sticky tape over the German flag or French flag, because every time G2 plays a French team, they seem to absolutely thump them, or they seem to have a really good matchup against them. And when it comes to playing some of those other international teams, you might not see them hitting the same kind of form. But maybe this is the start of that, and I'm really keen to see how they go up against Big, who, we got to say, is sort of, you know, the bottom end of the top 10 kind of team at the moment. They're on the up and up, and with the, shuffles that they're doing around in that roster, really trying to find, how they want to make a combination of their players moving forward, it should be a pretty interesting thing to see for sure.
Yeah, I've always kind of looked at Big as a pretty kind of cool team to watch, just because of the mix of players and the rosters that they've always had. It's always a multinational roster, and I mean, bringing in Xantares as well. I've always enjoyed watching him as a player, even back from the Space Soldiers days, which unfortunately we didn't get to see them doing too well, obviously, at IEM Sydney last year. But maybe Xantares can make his way this year to IEM Sydney. I think you're looking at Big right now as the team that is in that pole position to make their way through to IEM Sydney. But this next matchup coming up between G2 and Big is what's going to be the real tell-all. And for both of these two teams, for all of these players who, none of whom I believe have actually been to an IEM Sydney before, I think it's a pretty big match coming up.
Yeah, definitely should be. For me, it's really a question of whether we're going to see the same G2 we just saw against 3D Max, because I feel like Big, they've already got the one map advantage. They've looked pretty decent throughout the qualifier, maybe had a map taken over off them in overtime from 3D Max, but they thumped them on the other two maps. They're looking by far the strongest team in this qualifier, and unless G2 can bring the fire that we just saw in that last series, then it should be a pretty sure thing that Big should go through, especially with that advantage, like we said.
I mean, they are bringing the fire, though. That's the thing. Like, the question, though, for me is, like, how long can they keep that going?
Yep.
We've already highlighted that consistency for G2.
They need 3 maps of it.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen 2, so they technically need 5 maps of it tonight. So, I mean, that's definitely a big ask, I think.
Yeah, but the promising signs comes down to how we saw them just play Dust2. The fundamentals were there. That wasn't necessarily one player going absolutely ham and thumping the other team into submission. Really it was some of the good decision-making of a team basis. We saw some really good creative utility towards the end of the game as well, and just the way that they were sort of approaching rounds together on a team-wide scale was impressive to see. So hopefully some more of that, as well as some, 20 bombs in one half from body as well.
I don't want to get too far into the analysis, I suppose, of the next match as to who we think is going to win, but I would kind of want to know actually who you'd like to see coming to IEM Sydney out of these two teams. But again, because neither of them have been here before, so we kind of get a bit of a new team coming through.
I think I'd like to see Big, just because I really enjoy their playstyle. They're a personal favourite team of mine and have been for quite a while. They always bring a creative approach, and they always sort of, whenever they have an obstacle to come up against that's a better team than them, then they always seem to impress and come up with something creative. All
right, well, we'll see whether or not you're going to get your wish, Pilly. Guys, we're going to head to a break, but don't go too far. We'll be back with the best of 5 upper bracket final for the qualification slot for IEM Sydney after this. Down the incendiary, takes the secondary angle. Nice flick, in fact, from Kenny. Yes, this might be a day
disruptive, not letting them set up what they wanted to do.
Come on, look at this body, just lining them up. It's a firing range of the round. If Shocks can come up big, if he can deny the bomb plan, even if he can just get 2, that's more than enough. And he's grabbed both. Yeah. Might get another one here as well, and he does. Heat coming out from Maka, and this is just now. Still holding on to it. They might get put in the ground as a result. Punished, absolutely. Marker goes as well. As we head on to the A-bomb site for G2, I think there's definitely some problems ahead for 3D Max. In fact, was trained, to be fair, prior to the last couple of series.
That's a classic. The time you got to be hitting if you were Devil last time, but there, Shocks doesn't hit it either, and he gets double peaked. Oh, the rate of grenade.
But how much help that is going to be for them. Well, David P very quickly, and a very nice shot as well. As Shocks goes down, bomb carrier is when they got the full utility, full weaponry as well. And I don't know what to say about that one.
Here from top mid, and that would make all the difference. But he's just going to go, oh my lord, Maka. That's his 4th special plays out of them to grind a few more rounds off the board. And a pistol round would be a good start. Oh,
it's a double AWP set up here for the T side as well, I might add. Kenny S is just, he puts quite a bit of an onus now onto Lucky. The important kill onto Haji, and that will allow the bomb plant to go down. So, he's actually going to fake the plan. What a madman. An absolute. And it's starting to feel more and more like Inferno. Kenny S through the flash. Oh, can he win another one? Good position. Bombs planted for him. A great shot onto Jinx.
So they must have something particular in mind. Oh my lord.
Oh, they've got Kenny S.
These lads.
They've got Kenny S in mind.
3D Max, they always feel just a little bit too slow to adjust. That is